everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Samantha. I'm in client services here at the Retirement Group, and I'm going to be moderating this webinar today. I'm going to be putting some useful links into the chat. These will be things like how to book an appointment with an advisor, as well as how to take advantage of our full recording library. You can see all past recordings we've done specific to your company, as well as our retirement guide. So please take advantage of those links. Today, we're going to be talking about some retirement strategies that you can use to possibly retire early without incurring that 10% fee penalty if you happen to choose to retire before the age of 59 and a half. I'll be bringing our speaker, Michael Corgiat, on shortly to discuss all of that at length with you. But before I do that, I have to let you know that although the Retirement Group works very closely with both active and retired members of your company, we are not affiliated nor endorsed by your specific company. I'd also like to let you know that after Michael's presentation, we'll be having a very short question and answer period where you can enter your questions into the Q&A box throughout the webinar, and he will answer as many as time allows. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker, Michael Corgiat. Michael.
Sam, thank you, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Today, we're going to talk about one of the least known, but probably one of the best options for you to access retirement assets prior to 59 and a half. A lot of people are not aware of this, and we love talking about it because it's a great planning tool for those of you who are fortunate enough to at least leave your employer, possibly go to work doing something else that you really enjoy doing, where your pay may not be as much, but you'd like to keep your standard of living similar to what it is right now. And it's called post 55. So let's go ahead and get started. First, why do you want to consider the Retirement Group? Well, I am one of a team of advisors with over 150 years of experience, knowledge, and working with the employers like AT&T, Caterpillar, Boeing, ExxonMobil, Pfizer, GlaxoSmithKline, Merck, and many others. We've been working with companies like this for quite a long time, in some cases up to 30 years. We've got offices nationwide. We've got a very good knowledge of all of your 401ks, your pension programs, and your medical programs. And one of our resources that I definitely want to mention is our complimentary financial cash flow analysis. It's a plan. It's a roadmap. Please take advantage of it. This will allow you to make sure that you're on track or what you need to do to get on track for a comfortable retirement, whether that retirement might be a month or a year from now or 5 or 10 years from now. It is a complimentary service, so all you have to do is reach out to our office and request one, and they'll schedule a call with myself or one of my colleagues. We'll get you started. Another one of our great resources, besides our website, it's theretirementgroup.com, is our LinkedIn page. We keep a lot of information on our LinkedIn page, including the signups for future webinars. We do post news updates, articles. We also have a newsletter and a blog that you can sign up for. So definitely scan this QR code, and that way you can follow us on our LinkedIn page, as well as definitely check out our website. We keep a lot of our resources there as well. And finally, we keep a YouTube page as well, where we keep all the recordings for all our webinars as well. So you could go in there and search for your employer and or the general presentations, which this is one of those, to find subject matter that you might really be interested in. So let's dive right in. There are traditionally 3 or 4 sources of funds for a traditional retirement, starting with your Social Security benefits. We've all been paying taxes into that system our entire working careers, and we certainly hope to be able to collect our monthly benefits for the rest of our lives, as well as for our spouses. And that is the first leg of the planning stool. For many of you, you've got a pension. That pension might come in the form of just a monthly annuity, and or you might have the option to take a lump sum. Putting a plan together would definitely show you what might make more sense to you for those employers that do provide both options. The third leg would be what you do for yourself. That includes your 401ks, as well as IRAs and Roth IRAs, and any outside investments. And then finally, the fourth leg would be real estate assets. A lot of us have accumulated a significant amount of equity in our primary and secondary residences. And do you want to take that equity to the grave with you? No, maybe not. Honestly, reverse mortgages is an option a lot of people consider. Just removing some of the equity in your home and using it to purchase items like possibly an RV or a collector's automobile or a boat, who knows? But those assets are available for you to use as a source of retirement funds as well. Now, we're going to talk about one of the benefits of accessing your 401k plan prior to age 59 and a half, and it's called the Rule of 55 or post 55. We're going to talk about what the rule is, how best to use it, some of the alternatives to the Rule of 55, and then the bottom line, what makes the most sense for you. The Rule of 55, this allows you the ability to withdraw funds from your current job's 401k or 403b program without paying a 10% penalty. That's the key, avoiding that 10% penalty. So if you reach the age of 55, the given year you choose to leave that employer, you will have the ability to access the funds in your 401k if you leave them in your 401k. You don't have to leave them all. You can roll some out if you want, but obviously you have to have money in that prior employer's 401k plan to access them under the Rule of 55. Doesn't matter if you were laid off, fired, or you just quit, okay? You still have to pay federal and state income taxes if that is applicable in the state that you live in. But the 10% penalty will be avoided. And this is key. So a lot of people think, listen, I can't do anything with my qualified plan assets until I'm 59 and a half. Well, that's not the case. With the Rule of 55, you can access some of your retirement assets between the ages of 55 and 59 and a half. Still got to pay taxes on it, but you avoid that 10% penalty. And this is key. How best to use the Rule of 55? Well, there are some rules that you need to comply with. I mentioned it already, but you must leave your job either the year that you turn 55 or when you're 55. So technically, if you're going to be 55 in May of this year, but you're 54 now, you can leave and have the ability to utilize the Rule of 55 in that calendar year. It's the age of 50 if you're a public service employee. A lot of public service employees didn't know that, okay? You must leave your job to start taking the withdrawals, but you can always return to work. Now, these withdrawals are flexible. You're not required to make these withdrawals. You can make these withdrawals in any amount that you like. Now, with some of the employers that we work with, they have limits on the number of these withdrawals that you could set up. Okay, so in the example of AT&T, you can do 4 withdrawals a year. So you've got to be careful how you choose to utilize the, accessing these funds. Okay, take out withdrawals quarterly. They can be in different amounts. You're not subjecting yourself or locking yourself into any one specific amount of money. All right. And you can only withdraw from 401ks and 403bs. An example of an account you can't withdraw from would be a 457 plan. Okay. So I mentioned that there are some alternatives to the Rule of 55. All right. If you become totally or permanently disabled, all bets are off. You can always access your qualified plan assets, both IRAs as well as 401ks. You pass away, your beneficiary or your estate will be withdrawing the money from the plan regardless and putting it into inherited IRA accounts. You can't take distributions to pay deductible medical expenses if they exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. Distributions are a result of an IRS levy. You're receiving qualified reservist distributions, and then probably the most important are what we call early distributions that are made as part of a substantial and equal periodic payment program, SEPP plan. This is what's called a 72T program. Now, for years, I've been an advisor for a long time, and I've actually retired individuals that weren't even 54 yet. So for example, let's say you're 50, 51, 52 years old. You've chosen to retire. You feel like you're in a comfortable position. You can make penalty-free withdrawals from IRAs using the 72T distribution rules, okay? The owner of that plan must make at least 5 substantial equal periodic payments. The rule states that if you start a 72T distribution, it has to last the greater of 5 years or to age 59 and a half. If you're 53, obviously, it's going to be, 6, 7 years. If you're 57 and you start a 72T, it's going to last for 5 years, so it's going to last to age 62. You've got to keep that in mind. But the 72T has some special rules. It allows you to take money from your IRA. So again, post 55 doesn't work for you. You'll roll your 401k over into an IRA, possibly combine it with other IRAs, possibly leave it separate. All right. Determine how much money you need per month. That's what a plan will do for you. All right. And then we can either back into how much money needs to go into the IRA that you're going to subject the 72T withdrawal from. There's the rules do base it on your life expectancy. There are some specific interest rates that do apply, that do change each and every month. We have a special calculator that will allow us to run these illustrations for you to show you what you can get per month based on your life expectancy, the current AFR midterm interest rates, and how much money you've got to work with. All you have to do is ask. We'd be happy to run one of these for you and then explain it. So this is an option that's available to those of you that are not even 55 yet. So we've talked about post 55. We've talked a little bit about 72T withdrawals. You just got to keep in mind, bottom line, we can access your retirement assets in one of a couple of different ways, and you can avoid paying the 10% penalty. With one, you just got to be 55 and flexible. With the other, you got to be a little more flexible. You have to live with the decisions that you've made. If you choose to break those decisions, you could subject yourself to a 10% penalty on all of the withdrawals that you've made from a 72T. All right. Doesn't mean you can't go back to work. It all depends on what your specific goals and your overall financial situation are. You know, in many cases, a lot of you just get laid off, unfortunately. And you get laid off sooner than when you want to retire. You're going to plan to find another job, but you do need funds to continue to pay your bills or to enjoy life, along with you're going to work doing something else that you really enjoy, like being a golf course marshal. You want to go to work at Lowe's and work in the paint department, whatever it might be. You're not going to make as much money, but you'd like to still enjoy the same standard of living. So, make sure you've got a plan. A lot of Americans don't. As I said, I've been doing this a long time, and what I have learned over my career is that my clients who have a plan, especially a plan that we've been working on for at least 2 or 3, possibly 5 years, are going to be in much better shape than those of you that choose to start a plan today and retire a month from now. That's not to say we can't make it work, that it won't make sense. My point is that I just want to make sure people understand having a plan in place, a roadmap, is probably one of the most important things that you can do for yourself and your family prior to retirement. So you could schedule a meeting with myself or one of my colleagues by scanning the QR code here on the left. Again, scan the one on the right, follow us on our LinkedIn page. You could call our office at 1-800-900-5867. And you could send us an email at info@theretirementgroup.com. If we don't get to your questions today, or you think of one after we end the webinar, send us an email, or give us a call. We'd look forward to talking with you. I love the fact that after I do these, many times I get 2 or 3 scheduled appointments. So I would look forward to it. My colleagues would look forward to it. And so now I'm going to turn it back over to Sam, see what kind of questions we've got from today's presentation. I really appreciate your time. And let's go ahead and see what Sam's got.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Yeah, we had a couple really great questions come in. The first is, what are the requirements to be eligible for the Rule of 55?
Okay, great question. We did pretty much talk about them at the beginning of the presentation. Essentially, you have to be on payroll, you have to have a 401k to access, and you have to be at least 55 the year that you're going to leave your employer. So like my example I mentioned, your birthday might be in May. You'll be 55 in May, you're laid off in February. You're only 54. If you're going to turn 55 that year, you will have the ability to access the 401k assets from that employer. I do want to point one thing out that I forgot to mention earlier. You can leave employer A and start a withdrawal via Rule of 55 and go back to work with another employer and start another 401k. Now, if you go back to work and then leave that employer, you can no longer access the old 401k assets.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Second question. If I take a small post-55 withdrawal, what are my options for adjusting my retirement income stream in the future if my financial needs or circumstances change?
That's a great question.
Mhm.
And that's the beauty of post-55 withdrawals. Okay. You can look at it year by year, quarter by quarter, or even month by month. All right. So let's just say this year you've retired. You really don't know what your situation is going to look like financially. As I mentioned, most employers offer a limited number of withdrawals per year. So you've got to be careful. Keeping in mind that I'd like to tell people that I work with, let's plan minimally on a quarterly basis. Let's look at what you're going to need for the next 3 months, and we can make that withdrawal. You'll set it aside and put it in your checking account as needed. Then when that 3 months is up, hey, what are you going to need for the next 3 months? So like the question says, a small withdrawal, it could be a small withdrawal today, and 6 months from now, it could be a larger withdrawal. And then 6 months later, or even the next whole year, you may not need to have to make a withdrawal for whatever reason. You've got a lot of flexibility to adjust your retirement income stream based on what you take from your 401k via post 55. So your circumstances change, you've got lots of flexibility.
All righty. Wow. Third question, what are the alternatives to the Rule of 55?
Okay, another great question. We talked about 72T, substantial and equal periodic payments,
Right.
for individuals that are not going to be 55 the year they retire. In fact, I've done one of these with a couple of people that weren't even 50 yet. That's a 72T.
Right.
So that is the main alternative to accessing funds, qualified retirement assets prior to 55 to avoid the 10% penalty. That's what we're focusing on here, is to allow you access to your retirement assets while avoiding that 10% federal penalty for early withdrawals. Now, other alternatives for retirement liquidity could come from after-tax investments on the outside. You have IRAs, you could certainly access them, but those could be subject to a penalty. Obviously, future work, your spouse's income. So those, just to name a few, would be alternatives to the Rule of 55.
Yeah, there's several. Okay. Is the separation from service rule applicable to IRA accounts? And what happens if an individual rolls over qualified plan assets into an IRA? Wow, that's a long-winded question.
A couple of parts there. It's a good question. Well, separation from service rules or post 55 rules are not applicable to IRA accounts. It only qualifies, or the only accounts that it qualifies for is your 401k or your 403b, which is your employer plan. IRAs are individual retirement accounts. So if you have an IRA or your pension has been rolled over into an IRA, you can access those funds if you're not 59 and a half yet,
Okay.
vis-a-vis with a 72T distribution. Now, you don't have to do that either, because those rules with the 72T are pretty onerous. All right. Once you start one, you got to live with it for at least 5 years minimally. So if you're not comfortable with it, or you just don't want to do something like that, you can access your IRA assets. You're just going to have to pay that additional 10% penalty. And as well as other non-qualified plan assets, brokerage accounts, equity in your home, just to name a couple.
All righty. 2 more questions here, and then we can let you guys go. Are all retirement plans required to provide for separation from service exception withdrawals? Will my company offer it?
As far as I know, almost all retirement plan, all 401ks offered by the Fortune 500 companies that I've worked with in my career offer this option. I believe it's an IRS rule. Okay. Will my company offer it? I haven't found one who doesn't yet. I don't believe it's a problem for the many employers that we work with. So I hope that helps to answer that question, but it was a good one.
Last one. I have a 401k and an IRA. Can I do post 55 and 72T if some of my money is in an IRA?
That's a great question. And the answer is yes. Let me give you a simple example. You leave, you're 55 years old, you've got your money in the 401k, and you took your pension in the form of a lump sum. Well, you want to roll that into an IRA. You can either do a post 55 withdrawal, or the other, a 72T. But if you're 55, you really don't want to do a 72T, to be honest with you. If you're 53, yes, you can. So you have the option to do one or the other or both. It's really going to matter as to your specific circumstances and situation, honestly, and how much money you're going to need. Now, in some cases, some people don't have much money in their 401k, but they do get to take a large lump sum of their pension. So they might have to do a 72T withdrawal, even if they're already 55, because they don't have much money in their 401k to do a post 55 from, or they may just wind up liquidating their 401k first, using the rule of 55, and then starting a 72T withdrawal. So again, it's all going to depend on your circumstances, but yes, we can make it work, and they both can be used.
Got it.
Well, I tell you what, everyone, Sam and I really appreciate your time to get together with us today. Come back and join us on our next presentation. Have a great day and stay safe.